All right, let's dive into this AI literacy thing. Looks like we've got some really interesting stuff to unpack here, especially that report on AI and finance. $22 billion by 2026. That's wild. AI is popping up everywhere these days. It's like you can't escape it. Feels like now is the perfect time to really get a grip on what it all means. Luckily, we've got our expert here to help us make sense of it all. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is AI literacy? I mean, is it just about knowing how to use the latest AI tools, or is there something more to it?
Well, there's definitely more to it. It's not just about knowing how to use a specific tool. It's about understanding how AI systems work, their limitations, the
Mm.
implications of actually using them. It's like we're moving from needing internet literacy to navigate the online world to needing AI literacy for a world shaped by AI.
I like that analogy. Makes you think, doesn't it? Speaking of which, you found an article that breaks down AI literacy into 5 core components. To be honest, when I first saw that list, I kind of felt overwhelmed. Like, where do you even begin? Can you walk us through those components, maybe make them a little less intimidating, and maybe connect them to some real world examples of the stuff you've been researching?
Absolutely. Let's break it down. So the first component is foundational knowledge, basic AI concepts, right?
Right.
But don't worry, this doesn't mean everyone needs to become a programmer or anything. It's more about understanding the fundamental ideas behind AI. It's
Yeah.
like you don't need to be a mechanic to drive a car, but knowing a little bit about how the engine works can make you a more informed driver and probably a safer one too.
Okay, so we're not talking about building AI from scratch, more like understanding the general principles behind it. Got it. What about the second component, practical proficiency? How is that different from just, using an AI tool?
Good question. Practical proficiency means you're not just clicking buttons. You actually understand the capabilities and limitations of those tools. You know how to integrate them into your workflow.
So, thinking about your research on AI and finance, that could be like understanding how an AI trading platform analyzes market data, not just blindly trusting the algorithm, but getting how it makes its recommendations.
Exactly. And you mentioned using listener-specific AI tool in your work. Let's think about that for a second. How can understanding the underlying algorithms make you a more effective user? What are the assumptions it's making? Where are the potential blind spots? That deeper understanding can really help you use the tool more strategically, get the most out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're not just passively accepting what the AI tells you, you're actually engaging with it, almost like having a conversation with the technology. Okay, so we've covered foundational knowledge and practical proficiency. That's 2 down. What's the third one? Critical evaluation. Right. What does that even mean?
It's about developing a healthy skepticism of AI, recognizing that AI systems are only as good as the data they're trained on, and that biases can creep in, sometimes in ways you don't even realize.
So you're saying it's about being able to spot those biases and question the AI's conclusions. That seems particularly important in fields like finance, where even small biases can have massive consequences.
Absolutely. Let's say there's an AI system that's being used to assess loan applications. Pretty common these days. But what if the data it was trained on has historical biases baked in? The AI might unintentionally perpetuate those biases in its decisions about who gets a loan and who doesn't, which is obviously a huge problem.
Wow, that's a powerful example. It really shows why critical evaluation is so important. It's not just about understanding how AI works technically, it's about understanding its potential impact on people's lives. Okay, 3 down, 2 to go. What's next?
The fourth component is all about responsible use, basically considering the ethical implications of how AI impacts individuals and society.
You mentioned a news story about a deepfake video that was used to promote some kind of investment scam. That seems very relevant to this whole idea of responsible use, doesn't it?
It definitely does. It highlights how AI can be misused, sometimes with pretty serious consequences.
It really makes you think about the ethical side of things. As AI gets more powerful, it's even more crucial to use it responsibly. All right, 4 down, 1 to go. What's the final piece of this AI literacy puzzle?
The fifth component, and I'd argue the most important, is continuous learning, always adapting.
So you're saying it's not enough to just learn about AI once and call it a day.
Exactly. AI is constantly changing. What we know today might be obsolete tomorrow. It's about embracing that constant change and always being willing to learn and adapt.
I'm seeing a pattern here. All these components, from basic knowledge to continuous learning, they're all connected, like different sides of the same coin.
That's a great way to put it. It's not about mastering one specific skill. It's more about developing a mindset that lets you navigate the world of AI. And that world is changing fast.
This has already given me a lot to think about, but I have to ask, Why is all this so important right now? Why should our listener care about AI literacy today?
Well, let's put it this way. Let's put it this way. The shift to a digital economy, that took, what, like 20 years? AI. AI's influence is happening way faster. And if we
Yeah.
don't understand what's going on, we risk getting left behind. Big time.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Makes you think of all those people who were slow to adapt to the internet. They missed out on so much. So we've established the why of AI literacy. Now let's get to the how. You included some articles that highlight the challenges organizations face when it comes to building an AI literate workforce. What are some of the biggest roadblocks?
One common challenge is the skills gap. A lot of employees, particularly those in non-technical roles, they feel intimidated by AI. All the jargon, it can be a real barrier, like trying to read a book in a language you don't understand.
Yeah, people tend to avoid what they don't get. It's natural.
Exactly. And that leads to another challenge, resistance to AI adoption. Some employees worry that AI is going to take their jobs. They see automation as a threat, not a tool that can actually help them be better at their jobs.
It's that fear of the unknown, right? How can organizations address those concerns? Create an environment where people are more open to AI.
Communication is key. Companies have to be transparent about how they're using AI and emphasize that it's about augmenting human capabilities, not replacing humans altogether. Like that example you found about Walmart, they retrained their retail employees to work with AI-powered inventory systems, and it was a huge success.
Right. That article mentioned a decrease in employee turnover and an improvement in morale.
Hmm.
The employees felt valued, like they were equipped to handle this new tech.
Exactly. It's about showing employees how AI can benefit them, both personally and professionally.
It also shows how important it is for companies to invest in continuous training, especially in a field that's moving as fast as AI. Speaking of which, one of the articles you highlighted talks about the speed of technological change as a major obstacle to AI literacy.
It's true. AI training programs can become outdated so quickly, it's a real problem. One solution is to partner with organizations that specialize in AI education. They usually have the resources and the expertise to stay ahead of the curve.
You actually found two organizations doing interesting work in this area, CFTE and AIFA.
Yep. CFTE, the Center for Finance, Technology, and Entrepreneurship, they offer a bunch of courses and programs on financial literacy in the age of AI. And AIFA, the AI and Finance Academy, they focus specifically on equipping finance professionals with the skills to leverage AI.
Sounds like both organizations have a lot to offer. We'll definitely include links to their websites in the show notes. So we've talked about the skill gap, resistance to adoption, and the rapid pace of change. Are there any other challenges that organizations should be aware of?
Another one is this tendency to treat training like a box-checking exercise. Some companies focus on just getting it done, meeting some requirement. But they're not really focused on helping their employees develop real skills.
That seems pretty short-sighted, especially when you consider the risks of not understanding AI, like that deepfake video you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. That whole incident shows just how important it is to be able to critically evaluate information in a world where AI is everywhere. Imagine if more people understood how deepfakes work, how to spot them. The damage could have been so much less.
It's a wake-up call, for sure. Shows that AI literacy isn't just some abstract idea, it has real-world consequences. Okay, so we've covered the challenges, now let's talk solutions. What are some practical steps that organizations can take to build a more AI literate workforce? Where do they even start?
It all comes back to those 5 core components of AI literacy: foundational knowledge, practical proficiency, critical evaluation, responsible use, and continuous learning. Address each of those components, and you've got a roadmap for success.
So it's about taking a holistic approach, not trying to do everything at once.
Exactly. Let's break down each of those components and look at some specific strategies.
Sounds good. Let's start with foundational knowledge. How can organizations make sure their employees have a solid understanding of basic AI concepts?
One really effective approach is to offer introductory AI programs, but tailor them to different roles and departments. And make sure they're using clear language, relatable examples. Not everyone needs to be a data scientist, right? Think back to when the internet first became a thing.
Right. Everyone needed a crash course in how to use email, browse the web. It does feel kind of similar to that, yeah.
Exactly. So these programs, they could cover things like the different types of AI, how algorithms work, the basics of machine learning. Just give everyone a basic understanding, like AI 101.
So tailored AI 101 for the entire workforce. I like it. What about practical proficiency? How do organizations help their employees develop actual hands-on skills with these AI tools?
The key is to integrate those tools into their existing workflow. Provide task-specific training. Don't just throw some new AI software at someone and expect them to figure it out on their own. That's a recipe for disaster.
So instead of generic AI training, it's about focused instruction on the tools and techniques they actually need for their jobs.
Exactly. Let's say you're rolling out a new AI-powered customer relationship management system. The training should be about how to use that system, how to manage customer interactions, analyze data, generate insights.
Makes sense. Keep it practical, keep it relevant. Okay, what about the third component, critical evaluation? How do you teach people to question AI outputs and spot potential biases?
One way is to encourage critical thinking sessions. Have teams analyze AI-driven recommendations, talk about the limitations.
Hmm.
You need to create a culture where people feel comfortable asking questions, challenging assumptions, even when it comes to AI.
So instead of just blindly accepting what the AI says, they're encouraged to dig a little deeper.
Exactly. These sessions could involve case studies, real-world examples of AI bias. You could even do simulations. Have teams try to spot potential problems in AI-generated outputs.
Like training their AI BS detectors.
Huh?
Okay, on to the fourth component, responsible use. How do we ensure that AI is being used ethically?
That's where ethical AI training comes in. Organizations need to provide training that covers the potential impact of AI on society. Talk about data privacy, algorithmic bias, the potential for AI to be used in discriminatory ways. It's all connected.
It's about recognizing that AI isn't just some neutral tool. It has real-world impacts, good and bad.
Exactly. This kind of training should emphasize how important it is to use AI in a way that aligns with your values. Promote fairness, transparency, accountability.
It's not just about the how-to, it's about the should we.
Mm.
All right, last but not least, continuous learning. How do we foster a culture of ongoing learning when it comes to AI?
It's about creating a culture of lifelong learning. Give employees opportunities to stay updated. Workshops, online courses, conferences, whatever works.
Provide the resources and the support they need to keep learning.
Exactly. And encourage them to experiment with new tools and platforms. You want to foster a sense of curiosity. Encourage innovation.
So it's not just about keeping up with the trends, it's about actively exploring and experimenting.
Precisely. AI is constantly evolving. Learning is a journey, not a destination.
This has been really eye-opening. We've covered a lot, from defining AI literacy to exploring the challenges and practical steps for building an AI-literate workforce. But before we wrap things up, I have one last question for you. We've talked about how important AI literacy is for everyone, but AI is moving so fast. What skills and knowledge do you think will be essential for people to actually thrive in the future? Like, what should our listener be focusing on as they, continue on their AI literacy journey?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's something we should all be thinking about. The specifics will probably change as AI keeps advancing, but there are some fundamental areas that I think will be key no matter what. First off, critical thinking skills are going to be more important than ever. As AI gets more sophisticated, more integrated into our lives, the ability to evaluate information, identify biases, make good decisions, that's going to be crucial. We can't just blindly accept what AI tells us, you know?
Yeah, we need to be able to question it, not in a negative way,
Mhm.
but in a way that makes us think critically.
Exactly. We can't just take things at face value. We need to understand what's happening under the hood. What are the processes? What are the potential limitations?
So it's not just about knowing how to use AI, it's also about knowing how to question it, interpret the results thoughtfully. What else?
Adaptability. Being willing to learn, keep learning. The world of AI is constantly changing. That's not going to stop. So if you could learn new skills, adapt to new technologies, stay curious, that's going to set you up for success. Look at how much the internet has changed in the last, 10 years. People who embraced that change, who learned new things, they thrived. People who didn't, they were left behind. AI is going to be the same way. If you're comfortable with change, eager to learn, you'll be in good shape.
It's that whole thing, the only constant is change, right?
It is, and it's more true now than ever. And
Yeah.
you know what? That brings me to another important skill, communication. As AI becomes more a part of everything we do, being able to communicate effectively with humans and with machines, that's going to be huge. Being able to articulate what you need to an AI system, being able to explain complex AI concepts to other people, it's all connected.
So you're saying it's not just about understanding AI ourselves, it's about being able to bridge the gap for others.
Exactly.
Mhm.
We need to be able to talk about AI in a way that makes sense, no matter what your technical background is. That's how we make sure everyone benefits.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. We really got into what it means to be AI literate, in a world that's changing so quickly. And one thing's for sure, AI literacy isn't just some optional thing anymore, it's essential. For everyone, hopefully our listener is feeling inspired to take charge of their own AI literacy. And remember, it's a journey. There are so many resources out there to help you, like CFTE and AIFA. You already found those, which is awesome. We'll link to them in the show notes too. As AI keeps changing, the question isn't if we'll interact with it, it's how well prepared we'll be. So embrace the challenge, stay curious, never stop learning. That's how we unlock the incredible potential of AI and how we avoid the pitfalls. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into AI literacy. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring,